Okay.
None of us know the actual beat. We're not.
Just, spread it out.
That's okay. Okay, you ready?
Wait, watch Brennan throw it up for me. Ready, Brittany? We're not leaving that in.
We're definitely.
No, we are.
No.
This is all part of the fun, right, Mr. Lawrence?
We're talking.
Love you.
Ready?
Cool. Give me my soul, just make me whole. Don't be a troll. Use less coal. There's a big payroll for those who sell coal. We dig a big manhole. That's the goal. Goal is full. Their ass. Why don't we coal and not use coal? Coal, coal. Almost as bad as a black hole. Coal. Just like an egg roll. Coal, coal. Coal kills tadpoles. Go to cruise control to use coal. Boom!
Okay, so coal is made out of the dead organic materials from hundreds of millions of years ago. It forms after when the material dies, sediment and different layers of rock sit on top of it, and they squeeze the oxygen out of the material, and you're left with the coal that we know of, the little hard black substance. Even though there are a lot of people who don't like coal, it's easy to see the appeal behind it. It is very abundant. There's a lot of it, and it's everywhere because there's a lot of dead organic material from everywhere. It has medium to high net energy yield, and it's very easy to come by. However, some of its downsides are it's non-renewable and it's extremely damaging to the environment. Like, it releases a lot of toxins into the environment when it's burned for its energy. Releases soot and carbon and mercury, nitrogen oxides, and sulfur dioxide. So a term was coined in the 1950s called clean coal by Congress, and basically it has developed into a series of technologies developed in order to clean up coal usage and release less of the damaging substances into the air when the coal is burned. In theory, some people think that there should be ways that they should be able to burn coal and release less pollution into the environment. They want less carbon emissions. That's the end goal. CCS are a system in which the emissions from coal can be captured after the coal has been burned, and then they can be taken underground to be stored. It's a clean coal technology. However, it isn't always 100% effective. When it's being stored, there's always a possibility of the carbon emissions to be leaked, and then it would get back into the environment, and then it's just an expensive procedure that ultimately does nothing. It's very expensive, and which is the reason why it's not being implemented by a lot of these coal companies. It doesn't cost anything to burn this coal, but it costs a lot of money to get technology to clean it up, and a lot of companies would much rather gain profit than lose a lot of it. So yeah, that's the history of clean coal.
Hi, so I'm here to talk about the life of coal miners. So the reason people went into coal mining because it was a secure job that paid for their housing, their food, and supported their family. And a lot of coal miners didn't have that high school degree or college education, and coal mining paid more than other jobs they could get. And so people went into coal mining straight from 18 years old, and the coal company created a little town around the mine that each house and electricity and all their utilities were paid for if the men worked in the coal mine. And so the men worked in the coal mine from 18 all the way until they retired because it was like a secure lifestyle. But the life of a coal miner was really difficult because coal mining super dangerous. I mean, it depends what type of coal mining you do, the explosive kind, or really any type of coal mining. You're underground with a sensitive resource, and so their lives weren't secure, and so that's what made coal mining a really difficult and sensitive job. But other than that, they probably lived on the East Coast, like North Carolina, Virginia, so pretty weird weather. But other than that, coal mining lives were mediocre, decent. So that was the life of a coal miner.
Throughout the 1980s, the Reagan/Bush administrations invested millions of dollars for research on new coal cleaning processes and coal burning technologies to reduce acid rain and air pollution. The goal of the research was to find ways to make coal burning clean and allow consumption rates to remain the same or higher. The program's purpose was to increase the combustion efficiency of coal-fired plants, which would permit humans to generate electricity at a more environmentally safe rate. More recently, however, President Reagan's proposed $2.5 billion clean coal technology program was under attack by environmentalists as well as some member of Congress, but was defended by an Energy Department official and a spokesman for the coal industry. Testifying at Senate hearings, Assistant Energy Secretary Alan Wampler said the 5-year program for research and development of clean coal technologies offered a preferred course of national response to such issues as acid rain, as well as the future energy security of our nation. It would allow increased use of coal while continuing the excellent progress made in the last decade to improve the quality of our air. The overarching idea was that if so much coal needed to be used, there should be a way to make it more friendly and less damaging to the environment. However, because of costs as well as other political factors, it never turned out the way Bush and Reagan had hoped.
Oh no, silly. Coal gasification is the production of combustible gas, some may call it syngas, from coal by reacting it with air and steam. Syngas is primarily used for electricity generation. Back in the olden days, all the way back to the 1800s, the combustible gas was traditionally used for municipal lighting and heating in towns. Coal gasification energy production is said to have a greater efficiency than conventional coal burning energy production because it can effectively use the gases twice. What do you mean? I'll explain. We get 2 times the energy production because the coal gases are first cleaned of impurities and fired into a turbine to generate electricity. That's one. Then the exhaust heat from the gas turbine can be captured and used to generate steam for a steam turbine generator. That's 2 times the energy. This is called a combined cycle, and the U.S. Department of Energy says a coal gasification plant using this dual process can potentially achieve an efficiency of 50% or more compared with a conventional coal-powered plant. Crazy.
Coal is used for a lot of things. For example, it could be used for steam engines, for trains, and houses. But the main point of, the number one usage is electricity. There's one thing to clean the coals. For example, there's the water pollution, coal washing. Coal washing is a process in a coal washery or coal preparation plant, or abbreviated by CPP, and involves using water and mechanical techniques and also gravity to clean coals, to clean the coal. And because of the differences of density, this will wash the impurities away. And that is how coal is clean. There are other ways to stop coal from polluting our earth. For example, you'd use the catalytic converter, scrubbers, and there's a lot of ways to control the pollution that coal actually brings to us.
The history of coal's use in the United States goes back all the way to the 1300s when the Hopi Indians used coal to navigate their lifestyle. It continued on being used by the European people, and then when the Europeans came to the United States, they brought it with them in the 1740s in Virginia. For a long time, it was the most dominant electricity source in the United States, bringing power to hundreds of homes all across the country. It went from the late 1800s all the way to the early 1900s, and it still remains a significant source of energy today. King coal was the dominant source of power in the U.S. because it was cheap. In 2003, they had 629 coal plants in the United States. That is half of the nation's power. As of 2015, about 491 coal plants were left, and that is 34% of our electricity. Experts expect coal to fall to 30% of power by 2030. From this pattern, we can see that coal use is declining in the United States, and other electricity sources and power sources are taking over as our main energy source. This map shows every coal-fired power plant in the contiguous United States. It has a dot for each power plant that can be found throughout the U.S. And as I mentioned, there were 629 in 2013, and in 2015, 491. So that shows the decrease, and that just continues to decrease today, even though coal is still our biggest energy source. A big reason for this drop comes from the fracking boom in the late 2000s, when natural gas became one of the biggest electricity providers that it is today. And then after the Obama presidency began shutting down a lot of the oil and mercury and sulfur and other pollution that comes from coal, natural gas took off, decreasing coal's production even more. As a result, we can see that the power plants on this map are slowly closing down and decreasing, and we'll see if that continues in the future.
Coal gasification. Coal? Did you eat too many burritos?